Os psiquiatras insistem que um rastreio de saúde mental seria benéfico para todos. Mas será que isto é verdade? E quais são os riscos? Em 2003, um grupo consultivo presidencial, conhecido como a nova Comissão de Liberdade para a Saúde Mental, emitiu um programa abrangente que expôs a sua estratégia para o rastreio de sinais de doenças mentais em segmentos importantes da sociedade americana. Alguns dos seus objetivos incluíam programas que criavam a detecção precoce da doença mental, alargando o papel das escolas no diagnóstico e tratamento de problemas mentais e expandindo o uso do rastreio de saúde mental para além do sofá dos psiquiatras e para dentro dos consultórios dos médicos de cuidados primários.
It's going to screen the population for mental health. The whole population. They're going to do it by stages, starting with school children, of course.
Até agora, os rastreios de saúde mental obrigatórios ainda não são uma realidade, exceto para alguns pequenos segmentos da sociedade. Um deles é o mais indefeso e frágil de todos: as crianças acolhidas.
A child goes into foster care, they label the child with some kind of a psychological problem. The child is immediately sent to therapy. Well, the therapist will say, well, I believe the child needs to be on something. So they recommend that the child see a psychiatrist to have the drug administered.
Out of the 60, 65 families that I see, easily 90% of the kids they have the mental health diagnosis to begin with. If they get it from a psychiatrist, it almost always comes with meds. And I think that we see identified as at-risk kids in the community, and we see some of the most intense situations. And a lot of them are on 4 or 5 different meds.
I've seen children that the day they're taken out of their parents' custody and placed into state custody actually seem happy, healthy, vibrant, energetic. And then, 2 months later, after they've begun taking these medications, they are very slow. They are zombie-like, is the best way to describe it.
Atualmente, todas as crianças que entram no sistema de lares de acolhimento do Texas recebem um rastreio de saúde mental. O resultado: 60% da população de crianças, ao cuidado do Estado, é diagnosticada e posta a tomar pelo menos uma droga psicotrópica, incluindo algumas crianças tão jovens como 3 anos. E é pior noutros estados. Em Massachusetts, por exemplo, 2/3 das crianças que estão ao cuidado do Estado estão a ser tratadas por uma doença mental. Nacionalmente, os filhos de criação estão a ser drogados com o triplo da velocidade das crianças na população geral. Como no caso de Gabriel Myers, um filho de criação de 7 anos que estava a tomar 2 psicotrópicos poderosos, um com uma advertência da FDA de que podia causar pensamentos suicidas nas crianças, quando se enforcou com um tubo do chuveiro. Outro segmento do mercado é o dos soldados que estão no ativo, que são regularmente rastreados em clínicas militares, rotulados com um distúrbio mental e aos quais são dadas drogas poderosas e potencialmente indutoras de violência.
Iraq wasn't like Vietnam. There weren't illegal drugs everywhere, but there were drugs everywhere because, every guy on post, they knew all they needed to do was go down and see the combat stress unit, the shrink, and he was the drug dealer on post for us.
Almost everybody that saw the body or experienced the event were put on some sort of psychotropic medication.
Some bases where my friends were at, my fellow veterans were at, everyone, the whole platoon was on drugs.
I would say about 75% of active duty military is addicted to some type of psychotropic drug.
You can walk around a military barracks and you ask someone for some Prozac and somebody's got some Prozac or some Xanax or some Zoloft.
I've got friends who were in the Army with me who are now dependent on Zoloft and psychotropic drugs just because they got used to it in Iraq and they didn't ever want to get off it, and now they're dependent on it and addicted to it.
We have huge numbers of military people on antidepressants, and instead of the suicide rate going down, which you'd expect if the drugs were effective, the suicide rate is going up.
This last January, we had more soldiers commit suicide than we had die in combat. And what's not being brought out much yet is the fact that the large majority of these soldiers were on these drugs. We're drugging the military at a rate we've never, ever seen before.
E isto é só o começo. Os programas de rastreio de saúde mental para militares estão planeados para 43 clínicas em 15 bases nos Estados Unidos, Alemanha e Itália. Estudos revelam que tanto como 12% dos que servem no Iraque e 17% no Afeganistão estão a tomar algum antidepressivo ou comprimido para dormir. Um total de 20 mil membros do serviço. Mas este número não é nada comparado com o número de grávidas ou mães recentes que poderiam ser postas a tomar drogas se as leis de rastreio psiquiátrico obrigatório para elas viessem a ser aprovadas.
And when a woman is pregnant, right during the pregnancy, specifically right afterwards, her hormones are changing and sometimes raging. And to screen them and call it mental illness, if they have any type of emotional issues in any way, shape, or form, is utterly ludicrous.
Mesmo sem ser obrigatório por lei, as mulheres grávidas poderão ser objeto de rastreio de doença mental. E sem sequer o saber. Aqui estão algumas mulheres entrevistadas ao sair dos consultórios dos seus médicos.
Have you ever been screened for mental illness?
I have not been screened for mental illness.
No, I've never been screened for any mental illness.
I don't remember any pre-screening.
I have not been.
No.
No? Have you ever been screened for any mental illness?
No, I have not been screened for any mental illness.
Did your OB/GYN or gynecologist have you fill out a questionnaire that contains psychological questions?
Yes, my OB/GYN did give me a questionnaire that has psychological questions.
I've never been screened for mental illness. Yes, I would say the first time I went to see my OB/GYN, I did fill out questionnaires about even family medical history, my mental state.
I've not been screened for any mental illness or depression. I took a questionnaire in my 6-week checkup, and it basically asked me about if I was crying, if I felt depressed.
Yeah, it was a questionnaire about depression. If you're depressed, or if you had any history of depression.
Are you happy with your normal day? Are you happy about being pregnant?
Have you ever hurt yourself? Are you happy? If I feel like hurting someone, if I was angry.
Do mental illness run in your family?
You know, it was very noticeable to me after the pregnancy that they're actually fishing for the postpartum depression.
When I was pregnant with my daughter, before I had her, I had to take postpartum depression medicine from my 7th month on to my 9th month.
E para onde é que este rastreio está a seguir? Para programas como o esquema de drogas pouco conhecido, formulado no Texas em 1995, chamado o Projeto de Algoritmo de Medicação do Texas, ou TMAP.
TMAP is a program that was originated starting in the 90s, a collaborative group of doctors from University of Texas and the Texas Department of Mental Health and Mental Retardation. And what it was supposed to do was come up with the best practice for treating mental illness.
Usando fundos de pesquisa de 11 empresas farmacêuticas diferentes, este painel, dominado por psiquiatras, criou uma carta de fluxo passo a passo que requer que só sejam prescritas as drogas psiquiátricas mais recentes e mais caras para pacientes com problemas mentais. E se um psicotrópico não funcionasse, os médicos eram obrigados a tentar outro psicotrópico caro. E se nenhum funcionasse, o passo seguinte seria o tratamento de eletrochoque. Mas as pessoas que dirigiam o TMAP estavam a esconder um grande conflito de interesses.
They didn't disclose that the researchers that were all involved in creating this, almost every single one of them had financial relationships with the pharmaceutical companies.
O Texas não é o único estado com problemas de corrupção. Alan Jones foi investigador no gabinete do Inspetor-Geral da Pensilvânia.
I learned that these monies were all coming in to the state to support and to promote a program called TMAP, the Texas Medication Algorithm Project. And so my concern was piqued very quickly that there was at least one state official who might be inappropriately receiving and dispersing monies from drug companies. They called it PenMap, but it was based entirely on the TMAP model. Also very quickly, I learned that there were other state employees who were serving on advisory boards financed through various pharmaceutical companies, and other state employees who were accepting honorariums personally, directly, from drug companies for speaking in their state capacities or official capacities. That's a felony in Pennsylvania. I saw there was a much bigger picture and attempted to surface that bigger picture and was consistently told to back off. I was told that drug companies write checks to politicians on both sides of the aisle. back off. You will not expand this investigation into the drug companies. Continue to press the investigation, much of it on my own time at this point. I became increasingly alarmed that all of the drugs recommended by the TMAP program were exclusively the new patented atypical antipsychotics for schizophrenia and all of the brand new patented SSRI antidepressants. None of it added up. When it became obvious to me that my investigation was not going to be permitted to continue, and it became obvious to the Inspector General's office that I was not going to stop, I was removed from lead investigator on the case. They threatened me with loss of career, with loss of job, with loss of reputation, essentially.
Apesar da investigação ter resultado na condenação do farmacêutico-chefe da Pensilvânia, o TMAP e as suas ramificações, como o PEN-MAP, espalharam-se por todo o país, tendo gerado milhares de milhões de dólares em vendas de drogas. Mas os subornos psiquiátricos têm um grande custo para o público. Em 2001, o TMAP e o seu equivalente para crianças, ou CMAP, levaram o programa da Medicaid do Texas e os sistemas de saúde mental e prisional do Estado à falência. Então o que é que vemos no quadro final? Um programa de rastreio de saúde mental financiado pelos contribuintes e dirigido pelo governo, em que cada pessoa que os psiquiatras consideram ter uma doença mental recebe psicotrópicos perigosos e caros. E se estes não funcionarem, há o tratamento de eletrochoque.
They're going to start with school children on the New Freedom Initiative. Then they're going to move it to senior citizen nursing homes. Then they're going to move it to, of course, military. And then parents.
By the time you're 18, you've been screened in utero when you were an infant. You were screened as an infant when you first came out. You were screened in your daycare. You were screened then at school. You were screened at the pediatrician's office. You're screened in high school. You're screened over and over again.
And to sit there and pass laws requiring that people be screened and drugged based on screening under state law or federal law is really, it's criminal. It should not be done.
They're marketing this madness all over this country, and we are actually becoming an example for the rest of the world. So we're, again, the poster child, if you will, and so the rest of the world is spending more and more on drugs.
I don't know that there was ever a time in the history of the world where people have been drugged to the extent of what we're seeing today.
The reality is, if you look at the overall picture, I don't see these drugs helping us make a better society. We see it in the military, we see it in our children, we see it in the schools. These drugs are not working to make a better society.
E com campanhas de marketing da doença mental ocultas que seguem com toda a força. O que é que acontece aos pacientes depois de terem sido diagnosticados e entregues à máquina de administração de psicotrópicos?